T Hard Iced Tea. Please drink responsibly.
Pardon the interruption, but I'm Pablo Torre. Tony, I am told it is National Fossil Day.
Tony Kornheiser, shout out to me. I'm a fossil and I'm a Muppet. Yeah, that's wonderful. I'm happy about that.
We're doing some sports talk paleontology with you.
Paleontology. Yeah, that's my next doctorate in paleontology. You just give it to me because I am actually I am paleontological, if there is such a word. Yeah. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. Wilbon has a day off. I am joined by our great friend, the host of the podcast, Pablo Torre Finds Out, and Mr. Pablo Torre. And we begin today with the Dodgers getting a complete game three-hitter from Yoshinobu Yamamoto last night to beat the Brewers 5-1 and take a 2-0 lead in the NLCS. Yamamoto gave up a first-pitch home run to Jackson Chourio and then just two more singles in the next 8 innings. The Brewers never had a single runner in scoring position. Pablo, what do you think of what the Dodgers are doing and how they are doing it?
Tony, we begin by joking about how old you are, but this first topic makes me feel like I'm watching my childhood. We're getting complete games in the playoffs. Yep. We have a Haas. We have a series full of Haas's, of aces, of guys who will do the thing that we haven't seen since, I believe, Justin Verlander in 2017, throw a complete game in the playoffs.
Complete game.
To go back to, I believe, the last time this happened with 2 starters this good over 8 innings, we're going back to 83, I believe, 1983. It's a delight. I was told that baseball that in fact, the thing that had gone extinct, gone the way of the dinosaur, was this type of person. And so I want to make fun of the Dodgers for having, Japan as their farm system. That's why Yamamoto is this way. But they got a staff full of these guys. Glasnow coming up can do exactly this too.
So I want to go backwards first. Do you remember when the Seattle kid in Game 1 against Toronto, the first pitch he threw, and George Springer, boom, parked it in the seats. And you looked at that game and you said, oh, whoa, Toronto is going to do to Seattle what Toronto did to the Yankees, 34 runs in 4 games. And that did not happen. It did not happen. No. So last night is deja vu all over again, as Yogi would say, because it's a first pitch home run. And then after that, there is nothing. Milwaukee doesn't get anything after that. The Dodgers starters have now gone in this series 17 innings, given up 4 hits.
Crazy. And
struck out 17. As you said, I hadn't seen a complete game like this, in 8 years. The Dodgers starters ERA right now is 154. They're built for this. I understand Milwaukee beat them in the regular season 6-0. I understand in the regular season, Milwaukee had the most wins, 97. This is not the regular season. The Dodgers are built for this. They understand that they don't really have relievers, so they say to the starters, keep going. You know what else, Pablo? They've become something we haven't seen in I don't know when, a likable rich team, because they spend money on the right people in the right way. They collect active people, not old people who are past their prime. They know what they're doing.
Well, I'll leave the obvious joke here aside that you just alley-ooped to me. I will merely comment that the Dodgers are doing the thing that, when I was growing up, the Yankees are the last team that I saw do. Right now, especially impressive is the fact that the postseason, as you know, Tony, as a huge baseball fan, is a roulette wheel. How do you keep the roulette wheel from spinning wildly out of control? You use your arms. The arms the Dodgers have wrested control of chaos in a time of, relief starters. It's just a crazy time in baseball. They bring us back to a time resembling sanity and likability despite the expense. But you mentioned, I suppose, the ALCS. That resumes tonight in Seattle. And the Mariners, of course, won both games in Toronto. Mariners have never been to a World Series, Tony. We know that. They're up 2-0 now with the next 2 at home. So does this accomplishment, making the World Series, feel inevitable to you?
Not inevitable. There is a small window that you can look through. There have been 3 teams in a 7-game playoff series that have lost the first 2 at home and still gone on to win. 3 teams out of the 28 that occurred to since 1914. And it's World Series teams because there never used to be an LCS. So there's the 85 Royals, there's the 86 Mets, there's the 96 Yankees. But so far, Seattle has been decisively better than Toronto. I have some numbers here that I think are pretty good. They've outscored the Blue Jays 13-4. They've out-homered the Blue Jays 4-2. They've out-hit the Blue Jays 17-8. And the best Blue Jay player, Vlad Guerrero Jr., is 0-for-7. So maybe he shouldn't have taken so much delight in saying, the Yankees lose. Him and Big Papi yucking it up. Maybe that doesn't feel good now because their team now has a batting average of 131 in this series.
Yeah, the Mariners, to me, are the most conventionally likable team available to us. He talked about the Dodgers being shockingly likable because of all of their payroll. The Mariners have all of the makings of the true underdog. And the only problem that keeps me from inevitability, and to me, of course, there are really just three things that are inevitable in life. It is death, taxes, and Mike Wilbon taking off random Wednesdays of PTI in the fall. Short of that, yeah, it's hard. I mean, look, I watched the Yankees lose to the Red Sox with a giant lead, Tony. Like, I've seen 3-1 leads get blown. I've seen things. It's a closer series than I think the outcomes have suggested. And I just caution that if there is a burial ground that is cursing this Mariners team, it's not quite over yet. That's the bar for inevitability.
No, it's not quite over. I will say this. I had occasion to be in Seattle for football games where the crowds were, it's the loudest outdoor crowd I'd ever heard. And I expect sort of the same from baseball. I mean, they all know they haven't been to the World Series. They're all going to try and help. Let's jump into college football here. The story of the season off the field so far has been the firing of coaches. James Franklin is one of 7 coaches fired from a big program before the halfway point in the season. The biggest story on the field so far is Indiana. They're 6-0 and coming out of a huge road win over number 3 Oregon. Indiana coach Curt Cignetti is the hot name now. Pablo, do you think he's more likely to stay at Indiana or leave for an historically bigger program?
I think he's going to stay, and I think it's the right move to stay, and I would not have said this 5 years ago. College football is different. We know this. We are frustrated by it because the influx of money in a fake free market has changed things. But the point is, Indiana, which gets those Big Ten checks, they also are spending like they're an SEC school. They got a president who, the stop before last, was at Georgia. They have a staff in terms of the assistants and expenditures, Tony, that they've doubled in expenses as they've renewed Cignetti. And Cignetti, by the way, is paid like a top 5 coach in the conference. So the question is, will you compete for players because there's a market? Will you compete for coaches because there's a market? Will you compete like you're a school above your station? The answer to all of that seems to be yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of people believe that there's going to be a pillow fight between Cignetti and Matt Rule to see who gets the Penn State job. But I'm going to agree with you to this extent. I think it is so romantic to think that Curt Cignetti would stay there and build this into a juggernaut because Indiana has the most losses all time of any college football program. And he gets there from James Madison, a school that nobody outside the Washington, D.C. area or Richmond, Virginia knows where it is. And he brings a bunch of kids with him. And in less than 2 years, they're number 3 in the country. That's absolutely amazing to me. Cignetti knows what it is like to coach at a big school. He was an assistant to Nick Saban at Alabama. If he thinks he can do it at Indiana, they could name the field after him. And the romance of that may actually get to him. Let's take a break if we could. Coming up, 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers faces 40-year-old Joe Flacco tomorrow. We're going to ask Steve Young about that.
We'll also ask him about Patrick Mahomes running more than ever.
The Dodgers spend money wisely. Look at who they get. They trade for Mookie Betts. They sign Freeman. They get Kike Hernandez and
Hour.
We have some NFL questions for our great friend, the man who actually did something Pablo bailed on, went to law school. Hall of Fame quarterback Steve Young. Let us start with this. 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers and 40-year-old Joe Flacco will play against each other on Thursday night on a short week. It has been referred to as the Icy Hot Bowl or the AARP Bowl. When you watch two guys in their 40s starting at quarterback in the NFL against each other, you think what?
Tony, I think this is super important because I think about two people that learned the game in a more sophisticated era. And people go, when was that, Steve? That was before the rule changes for safety. People don't realize the difference in the game that happened when they didn't allow defenders to launch their head first into and cover more ground more quickly. And they also restricted how you could hit the quarterback. And so when Tom Brady was in Tampa, and I ran into him on a Monday night game and said, "How do you feel like the game has changed?" He says, "Look, Steve, it's amazing. The flats are always open because there's more space. The middle of the field is unpatrolled where it used to be a death zone, and no one can hit me." And so when I see two people over 40 playing in today's game, they're taking advantage of learning in a more sophisticated time, and now playing in a less sophisticated era where there's more space. Essentially, the rule changes for safety made I'm being conflating here, but it made the field like a Canadian field, right? It expanded the space, and all the great innovative minds jumped in. We talk about it every week. Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Andy Reid, Sean Payton, they just jumped in and answered that call to innovation because of the rule changes.
Now, Steve, one of the great quirks of this current season is that Patrick Mahomes is leading his team, the Chiefs, in rushing. He's on pace to nearly double his career total. Of course, I look at Patrick Mahomes. I can't help but think of running quarterbacks, dual threat guys like yourself. How do you balance that? The whole thing of, I have this athleticism, but also I need to keep myself safe. How did you balance that? How does he?
It's the question because quarterback's the most important role in sports. It's the question, Pablo, that needs to be asked and talked about way more because it is an incredible challenge. Patrick Mahomes cannot maintain being the leading rusher for the Chiefs and go to the Super Bowl. Yet, he has to threaten the line of scrimmage. He's learned that. He's learned that I need to be a sophisticated passer, yet I have to put into the defense's mind, who have now been put on their heels because of safety rules, I can now attack the line of scrimmage because of all this new space. Look at Justin Herbert. I even say Jared Goff needs to do more of this because in the biggest games, they are won in the biggest moments by quarterbacks who have threatened the line of scrimmage. So Patrick Mahomes needs to continue to do it. And now how do you figure out that right space, when to go, when to stay, when to throw it, when to run? And that really, it makes it even harder for guys like Justin Fields or Lamar Jackson because they're so incredibly athletic.
Yeah, Justin Fields is the name I wanted to ask you about next because he gets sacked 9 times, of course, over the weekend on Sunday. And he says, we can't let that happen again. So how do you do that? How do you get the ball out quicker to avoid that kind of, again, damage to yourself?
The number I tell them, anyone who wants to talk to me about dual threat and how, the transition that you have to make, the reason why I was able to find what I hope was a pretty fine line of when to go and how to stay and how to be sophisticated and how to still threaten and how to do all that became when I owned all the data. When I memorized, you guys mentioned I went to law school, and sorry, Pablo, when did you make it a semester? I didn't hear what the latest on that was.
I have an expired LSAT score, Steve. Thanks for asking, though. My mom is watching, so.
But I can tell you that as much memorization that I had in law school, there was more required of memorization week to week in preparing to own the data for an NFL football game. And in owning the data, and you think about recent history with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, really showed you and ad infinitum how much information they had to take in and own reflexively. In other words, I didn't memorize it so I could spit it back in a room, a quiet room. I can reflexively spit it out. It comes in my mind, and I have all these ideas of what is the tendency for the defense, what's the blitz tendency in the red zone, what happens in goal line, what's the formation, how much. It's all happening real time, and when your brain can slow down because you have owned all of that information reflexively, now your athleticism can come out. Now who you are as a quarterback can come out. And now you can make those decisions about when to go, when to come, how to deal with it, how to throw it, where to go. Like, if you don't own the data, you're always behind. And if you're behind the data, you'll never be the athlete you could be. You'll never be the quarterback that you could be. You'll be a shadow of who you could possibly be. And so that's why I ended up saying, quarterbacking it's a master's program in the schoolroom.
Mm. It's a brilliant answer. I feel stupid asking the next question. That was so brilliant. You used the phrase, threaten the line of scrimmage. You struggled when you played with the Bucs before you succeeded with the 49ers. When you look at the success Baker Mayfield, and here's a guy who threatens the line of scrimmage, Baker Mayfield is having at his 3rd stop now, what lesson should people learn from that?
Well, we talked about it. I mean, I'm going to be very frank. There are terrible places for quarterback. There are places that don't understand the position the way they need to. Everything about this discussion we just had has not infiltrated every football team in the NFL. how to understand who are the innovative minds. You talk about elite quarterbacks in the league today. Let's just say 5. I mean, I will argue, but there's 5 elite innovative play calling minds. There's 5 elite owners. There's 5 elite places for quarterback. There's always good spots and bad spots. Baker, me, anyone else has to own our play. You can't walk away from it. But as a guy now looking back, I got to be honest with you. There's good spots and there's bad spots. And Baker's found a great spot for quarterback that allows him to see, allows him to iterate, to get better every week, which he's doing. And the ultimate question, how good can you get? That's why I only ask for every quarterback alive today to get the opportunity to find out how good you are. And you need so much help in football because that's the nature of the game. 50 guys running all over the place, chaos. Please give quarterbacks a chance to see how good they can get, and not everybody gets it.
Thank you so much, Steve. Pleasure all the time. Thank you.
You guys, the questions are just out of the world. I love it. I love this. Awesome.
I wish I could take credit for him, but somebody else is writing. Let's take one last break. Still to come, Alex Bregman opts out of his deal with the Red Sox, but does that mean he's gone?
And Russell Westbrook, Tony, has a new team.
Yeah, I read about that today.